Do it.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to our very special event today. So a little bit about the background and how this came about. I just came out of a role that didn't work out. So I was determined not to make the same mistake again, and I came across this amazing book called Never Search Alone, and everything suddenly made so much sense. And it's backed by data too. So a nice data point that I like. You're twice as likely to get an offer if you create a job mission document with OKRs and share with your hiring manager while you're interviewing than not, and that's backed by data. Having a support network to guide you through this is essential. This is my most tolerable job search yet, and that's thanks to my own JSC, so I can attest to that. So I started spreading the word, and I discovered that here in this community outside of the US, less awareness of Never Search Alone. So I decided to start spreading the word, and I was quite randomly introduced to Phyl, who very graciously agreed to do an online Q&A specifically for this mostly non-US audience. So we, together with Mark, who's here with me from NUMI, we thought we would promote this event and get as many people possible so that more and more people will use this method, and that will be helpful for people landing in the right jobs and for companies that will land the right people in the right jobs, thus generating a virtuous circle. So I'm so delighted to be hosting Phyl here today. Quickly, what we have ahead is a quick presentation by Phyl, after which we're going to have an interactive Q&A session. So thanks, Mark, and the NUMI team, first of all, for helping us spread the word and getting a lot of people to this event today. So I'll quickly hand over to Mark to introduce himself, and then we'll begin with Phil's presentation. So thanks, everyone, for coming. And I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Doron, and I'm a random product guy in London. Look me up on LinkedIn if you want to learn more.
And do one thing, take the highlight off of Nitin's comment. That way everyone can see our names for the moment anyway. Yeah.
Got it.
And before, Mark, you introduce yourself, and I can't wait, and I appreciate everything you've done. Let me just ask everybody who's with us, can you just put in the chat where you are, London or somewhere else? And if you're already in a job search council, throw that in there too. You may not be, but let's see where everyone's from. Okay, over to you, Mark.
Great idea, Phyl. Doran, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for showing up today. I am Mark. I'm co-founder of NUMI. NUMI is the creation of a new me, and we are all on life's journey. We exist to raise the bar when it comes to recruitment, and we love finding jobs for people. But finding a job today sucks. I don't know how you're finding it. Maybe you feel like it's lonely. Maybe you think, is there another way? And for those reasons, we teamed up with Doran and with Phyl because we're here. We're here for you, and we want to help as much as we possibly can. So comment, get your questions ready, and I'll hand you over to Phyl, who's going to steal the show and take the floor. Over to you, Phyl.
Great. Let me just first of all welcome everybody. Look at this. Great. We've got folks, Dermot from Exeter, who's already in a JSC, Boston, San Juan Capistrano in a JSC and love it. Fantastic. Julia, throw in there what you like about it. It'd be helpful for people who are thinking about this free program. Lawrence, you're also already in a job search council in London. We've got Hackney, Nicholas, London, San Diego, London, go NUMI, there you go. Philip from London, good name. Edinburgh, who's in your JSC, Doran, it looks like, Akhtar, which is amazing. Lisbon, just a lot of great folks here. Welcome. Thank you for coming today. If you're not in a job search council, I hope, and you're looking, I hope, this session encourages you to join. It's a free program. We have a whole suite of services, completely free and volunteer driven. About 20,000 hours of work has been put into this since the book came out 2 years ago. And the methodology has taken about 25 years to develop. And I'll say more about that in a moment. But thank you all for being here, and Mark for sponsoring this, and Doran for putting it together. It's great to be here. So I want to share with all of you just a brief presentation, the 3 big ideas in Never Search Alone. And then we'll do a Q&A. And chat's going to be active. So while I'm talking, if you have a question or comment, please go ahead and post it there. I noticed Lawrence has commented about the Job Search Council experience, JSC. It's good to be able to share ideas and connect. Julia talks about emotional support. And that's the first of the 3 big ideas, which is a Job Search Council. Here's the key insight. So, I've worked with senior leaders in product management and general management in Silicon Valley for the last 25 years. I myself was on the first startup that Amazon bought back in the 90s. I then was the CEO of Creative Good, which was pioneering customer experience and product management firm. I assume many of you in today's call are product managers. It's not only for product managers, Never Search Alone, but it certainly seems to be, we took a product lens to reinvent the job search. So it's not surprising that the product community has really embraced this. Fun fact, Marty Kagan and I go back 3 decades, and he was actually a client of mine at Creative Good when he was at eBay. And he wrote the foreword to my book and said some lovely things, which was amazing. And I was on Lenny's podcast recently, which I encourage you to watch if you haven't seen it. And hopefully you're fans of Lenny's podcast. It's a great program. But the first insight is this: no matter who you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how amazing your resume might be, right? You worked at Google, or you invented Alexa at Amazon, whatever it might be. When you're looking for that next job, it's lonely, and insecurity and fear can really take over and actually undermine the job search, undermine the way you show up, undermine how you approach. It can just really have a negative impact. So the first big idea is job search councils. Sign up for a job search council. Either create your own, and I tell you how to do that in the book, or come to our free program. Pete Lee mentioned there in the comments, you can go to phyl.org if you're interested to sign up for a free job search council, and my volunteer team will match you with other job seekers, which, Doran, I guess is what you did, right? Did you, or did you set it up on your own?
I did both. So my first one didn't work out, and then I did it a second time using my own network. So that's the one we have now.
Yeah, that's great. So you can do it yourself with people you know in London or wherever you may be, and or you can come to us and we can help you do that. This is a surprising insight to many people, because many people think, oh boy, if you're a senior executive or you're really talented, the job search is a cinch. It isn't, not for anyone. It is challenging, and everyone feels that insecurity and fear. But here's the thing we've learned, and psychologists taught me this: if you put a small group of insecure people together and ask them to be open and vulnerable with each other, it flips from insecurity and fear to hope and motivation and accountability. And those things, and confidence, those things are so important in the job search. It's amazing. So that's the first big idea. Don't do it alone, right? The title of the book, Never Search Alone. Form a support group. And we can talk more about how job search councils work. We have people both in the chat and also Doran here who can tell you about the dynamics. We provide a whole suite of tools and agendas, and we have Notion boards for moderators of the job search councils and for members. Every council has a moderator and they're a job seeker. They're volunteering to do that, and we give them additional support. Nitin notes that, yes, we have a matching service for folks based in Europe if you want to do that. It does take us a little bit more time because we don't have the same flow of people coming into our program as we do in the United States, but that is growing in Europe and in Asia. All right, so that's the first big idea. Never search alone, set up a job search council. The second, and again, if you're a product manager, this is going to make some sense to you, is candidate market fit. Candidate market fit. So look, when you're in the job search, you are the product. Your skills and experience are the product that you're bringing to the market. So you need to think about what you want. Where do you want to go in your career? But you also need to think about the market. What does the market want, and how does the market perceive you? Okay. This is a really important concept. Now, the original Never Search Alone methodology, people ask me all the time, is this only for good markets? No, actually, it started in the dot-com downturn. That was devastating in the United States in 2000, 2001, 2002. It was a depression in the very small but nevertheless important internet world at the time. That's where I first began this. And people who've gone through the program in recent years, the tech market is tough in the United States. We have lost thousands and thousands of jobs. Now, for the most part, AI has not taken those jobs. What's happened is uncertainty around AI, as well as the pandemic overhang, have slowed the market down. And it's in this moment that it's even more important that you understand in this market today, what kinds of jobs are you a fit for that also match where you want to go? What is your candidate market fit? Now, in the book, I have a set of exercises. The concept is basically I'm asking you to go out and do market research on yourself, right? As if, again, you're the product. I call it a listening tour, and I have a set of structured exercises for doing that. It also, by the way, not only gives you insight about your candidate market fit, but deepens and broadens your network. There's a really important hack I want all of you to understand. It's counterintuitive, and you're not going to believe it's true until you do it. That is, when you ask someone for help well, when you do it well, and for example, in the job search, if I were to ask Mark, would you sit down and help me think about my candidate market fit and give me some feedback? I've been working hard at this. I have some thoughts. I've done my homework. Mark is typically going to say yes to that. But here's the counterintuitive thing. When Mark helps me, it not only gives me assistance, but it makes Mark more invested in my success. It builds our relationship, and it makes him even more willing to help me down the road. So when I ask you to do a listening tour, yes, I'm asking you to get insight on your candidate market fit. And by the way, speaking to recruiters is a critical component of that. So Mark would be very important for me to talk to. But I'm also asking you to do that because it builds your network. It creates a web of support around you. Now, at the end of this process of this second step, when you're thinking about your candidate market fit, and you create something and it needs to be narrow and focused. Those of you who know product market fit know it can't be one thing for everything. You've got to be narrow and focused. And we can talk more about that. I want you to go back to everybody who you asked for help from and tell them, this is my candidate market fit. And one of the reasons it's important for it to be narrow and focused is that's the only way Mark or Doran is going to remember what I'm looking for, if it's really clear. Now, since they've already helped me, they're invested in helping me even more, and I turn them into listening posts. Really critical. Okay, we can ask a lot of questions and answer questions about candidate market fit, central concept in the book. Let me just share with you the third big idea. But before we do that, let me just check the chat here. Yeah, Ibadat, you're saying, yeah, you're realizing there's a big element of isolation in the job search process, especially when you're not working while searching. So absolutely, suddenly you don't have a team around you, right? We work in teams in companies, but now suddenly you're alone and you're facing that market alone and a cold wind is blowing. You definitely should not do it alone. Okay, Lawrence, this is an important question. And do you mind if we come back to this, Doran? Because I want to make sure everyone first understands what we mean by two-pager and how we're thinking about that. So let's bring that back. Let me just share the third big idea just to set the stage, and then we'll get into the Q&A. The third big idea is what I call playing to win-win, okay? It's a collaborative approach to interviewing and negotiating, okay? Playing to win-win. And we use a tool that ends up being one of the most important tools in the book. I call it a job mission with OKRs. Now, I'm guessing most of you know what an OKR is because you're in the product world, objectives and key results. objectives and key results. But that's what that means. It's an important thing. What I'm suggesting here is this. Many companies, actually, when they write job descriptions, do a poor job. They don't actually understand the role as well as they often need to. But whether they've done a good job or a bad job, I want you first privately, you don't share it initially, privately, to create your own version of the job description as best as you can. And I call it a job mission with OKRs. And I call it that because I don't want you to create a generic or abstract description. I want you to create something with action items, with objectives and key results, with accountabilities, okay? And I want you to draft that. And the first reason I want you to do that is it will bring up questions in your mind about the role. And guess what? Those become interview questions. Mark, you're in the recruiting world. How many times do you see interviewees just not asking good questions, right?
All the time.
It's endemic.
Your candidate market fit is so right, because I can speak to, I don't know, 10 candidates in a day. I will only remember you if you're specific.
Yeah.
If you know exactly what you want to do in your next career, in your next job move. I've actually signed up to be your first UK volunteer recruiter on your program. Did you know this?
I didn't know that, Mark. That's amazing.
I have my onboarding next week. So I think I'm now recruiter number 23 on your best.
That's amazing. So by the way, this is we're building a network of recruiters so that if you're in the Never Search Alone community, if you're on a job search council and you're ready to talk to the recruiter and you're listening to her, we can, and many people don't have those relationships, sadly, and you got to build them. So if you're in a job and listening to this, when a recruiter calls, take the call, help them. Even if you don't want the job, build that relationship, because you're going to want to ask them for help when you're looking next. But we have wonderful people like Mark who are volunteering to help job seekers refine that candidate market fit. So critical. And then when you're in the interview process, I want you to create this job mission with OKRs, because I want you to be able to come and ask good questions about the role. And then once you have done several interviews, I want you to take that draft, it's not a finished draft, and I want you to ask the hiring manager for a sidebar. Okay, can we have a quick conversation over Zoom or in person, whatever? I want to get your thoughts on something. And then you show it to them, and it's very precise wording I'm going to give you here. I've been thinking about the role, and I want to make sure I understand it correctly. Can you give me feedback on this? And then you show them the job mission with OKRs. The first thing that will happen is it will blow them away that you have actually taken the time to do that. One of the biggest challenges when a recruiting manager is interviewing candidates is to figure out, is this person just a good interviewer, or are they going to get shit done? Okay. And you have just shown them, not told them, shown them that you are someone who gets shit done. Okay. And that is so critical. Okay. It blows them away. It raises the odds of getting an offer, but it also does something else that's so important. How many times have you taken job A and you got there and it turned out to be job B, right? Where there was a mismatch between what you thought and what they thought. Likely even they weren't even clear, right? And there's lack of clarity all around. This really is important to address that. Finally, once you get the offer, you then use the job mission with OKRs to negotiate non-comp items that will set you up to succeed. Budget, resources, support, and then yes, comp. But I want you to negotiate the non-comp stuff first. That will further impress them, blow them away. It will actually make them want you even more and be more amenable to paying you more. Okay? All right. So those are the three big ideas of Never Search Alone. Join a job search council. Number one, don't search alone. Number two, figure out your candidate market fit. 3, play to win-win. Use a job mission with OKRs. Okay, so with that framework set, let's now get into the questions and comments. There's a lot going on here. So do you want to come back to that question, Doran, that you had, and I can explain some of the context around that?
Certainly. So the question was whether to share So obviously, for those who haven't read the book, there's the concept of creating a two-page document that's called the Manukan two-pager, where you define your career goals and what you want from your next job and your strengths and your weaknesses, etc. Is that something that we should share with the recruiters? Should we give it a haircut so we potentially don't expose ourselves to bias? So I think a lot of questions around that.
Here's what I like to do. So first of all, I just threw this in chat, Manukan two-pager, just so you can see the spelling of it. That's named after Allison Manukan, who's currently a professor at the Harvard Business School, but at the time was a senior executive at Intuit and one of my product council members. And she was in a transition. And she created a two-pager and did a listening tour, and then landed a terrific job where she ended up being the CEO of a software company. And so I love this, and she and I worked on this together. This was about 15 years ago, and I iterated it over many years. So side point on that, this methodology is something that didn't spring out of my head. We're talking about thousands of people have iterated and tested this with me over 25 years. I actually went through 400 drafts of the book, and I'm continuing to make small adjustments. And as we learn more and more people use it. Now about 30,000 people have entered the program. And centrally, we have launched around 3,000 job search councils. That doesn't include all the independent job search councils that are going on in the world. So back to the Manukan two-pager. So the first thing I ask you to do once you're on a job search council is to think about what you want and don't want, your weaknesses and strengths, your career goals, okay? And we call that the Manukan two-pager. Now, you would think this would be, sort of, de rigueur but people don't do this. They don't take a moment to think about what they want, right? So this is one of the radical steps of the program, crazy enough. And then with that two-pager in mind, I want you to go do a listening tour, talk to people you've worked with in the past, talk to people in your network, and talk to recruiters. Now, to the question from Lawrence, should we be sharing that two-pager with the recruiters? Here's what I think you should be doing with the recruiter. The way I like to structure it is, again, if I'm talking to Mark, hey, Mark, would you be willing to give me some feedback? I'm working on my candidate market fit. Mark says, yes, we get together. And I say, let me show you my LinkedIn. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. Before I share my two-pager, Mark, tell me, I have you ask 3 questions. What job do you think I could get tomorrow? No sweat. What might be a fit, but could be a stretch? And what's out of the ballpark for me? Okay. And recruiters, by the way, and Mark, tell me if this is true for you. I find that recruiters love giving their advice, but they're not often asked for it. Instead, it's like, get me a job, Mark, or here's what I want. Can't you get it for me? And if you tell me I'm not a fit, I'm mad at you. Instead of like, well, tell me what, give me your expertise. You're the one who's so close to the market. What do you think? Is that your experience, Mark, that not enough people openly ask that kind of advice, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely an experience that I have. Yeah. A lot of people underestimate the power of the recruiter call, because it's an opportunity for you as a job seeker to rehearse, to practice, to get your speech, to get your shit done. Because quite often, if you fail the recruiter conversation, the recruiter isn't then going to represent you.
Totally. Yeah.
So we need to be your friends. You need to be our friends. Yeah. And actually, of course, we speak to people all day, every day.
Yeah.
And the best thing we can do is give insight, give advice, give intelligence. We then feel good as people as well. We feel good about doing our job, which is to help you.
Yeah. And you obviously you want people to get jobs. That's also how you typically make money, depending on if you're retained or contract. And, I think a big frustration that many recruiters have is that people don't know their candidate market fit, want the recruiter to figure it out for them, or are overestimating, or in some cases underestimating it, right? And important about candidate market fit, folks, it's changing all the time, because the market is changing all the time. And hopefully you are too. But certainly the market is, right? And I will tell you, in the market in the United States today, let's say you're a director of product, Okay. Let's say 2.5 years ago, you're director of product. You could probably get certainly a senior director role, possibly a VP role, depending on your experience and background. Today, if you're a director of product, you may have to be looking at senior manager roles, right? Why is that? Because the candidate market fit is being pushed down for everyone. Why? Because supply demand. There are thousands of people out there looking for a job. There are SVPs or chief product officers taking VP roles. There are VPs taking director roles, and on it goes. Okay. And let's see. While I regularly use the STAR approach, I still feel I struggle with effectively answering blah, blah, blah. So look, can you take that off? I think I got the question. So my answer to you is, I think you need to understand your candidate market fit. It's not clear to me. Do you actually really know what your candidate market fit is? If you do, you're typically able to answer those kinds of questions effectively. Now, if you're still having struggle, in the book, I talk a lot about interview prep and debrief that you do with your job search counsel. That's really important. I don't know if you're in a job search counsel. I'm guessing you aren't by the way you frame that question. Can't encourage you enough to do that. Form your own or go to phyl.org and sign up. Again, it's a free program. It's completely free, folks. People are like, really? How's it? We have many, many volunteers, from Mark, who is volunteering as a recruiter, to Doran, who's volunteering as a moderator as well as a job seeker, to a core team. And they're doing this because we're building a private volunteer-led safety net for everyone laid off or let go in tech. Okay, so let's see. What question do we want to tackle next, Doran? Or comment?
Yeah, I don't see additional direct questions. I actually have a few. So
please go ahead.
So here goes. Let's talk about low response rates. Let's talk about a listening tour where you feel like an ineffective salesperson, where you're kind of cold calling and you want to up your response rates. And I think a lot of us are getting that to a certain degree in our JSC. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so the question that Doran is asking me is, he's saying that in his job search counsel, they have worked on their Manukan 2-pager and created a draft, and they're starting their listening tour to get the feedback they need on candidate market fit. And I think what you're telling me, Doran, is that you're having a hard time getting people to agree to have conversations with you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. People that I'm expecting to respond and they're just not responding. And,
okay.
So I'm not getting, so if I compare that to product discovery, it's like, I've got some key personas that I'm trying to talk to, and these personas are non-existent in my discovery process.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to drill down a little bit, and this is worth doing. When you're, give me an example of, just so everyone knows, I ask people to do 3 kinds of conversations. Talk to people you've worked with before. I call those reverse exit interviews. Talk to people broadly in your network that you've known, and then talk to recruiters. So which of those 3, or is it all 3, you're having trouble with?
It's the reverse exit interview. It's ex-colleagues that are, people that I've worked quite closely with in the past, that
Okay.
I feel that I can't get a complete picture without them, and they're not responding. And, do I just leave it and move on, or,
I suspect there are 2 things going on. So let me dig a little deeper. One is the way you're framing the request might be worth looking at. So I want to talk about that. And second, there just may be people, sometimes you don't get a response, you got to move on. But what can we handle within our control? How are you, can you pull up an email and read me the text? I'm going to get real tactical here. And if it is going to take you a moment.
I think maybe we move to the next question, because
James
there
really
is
asked
one.
good examples of taking a job description and translating it into OKRs. Yes, there are. We have a whole package of examples that you get as part of the free toolkit, James. And we also have a number of other We have videos on our website at phyl.org that talk about this, but we also have a package of examples that show these at various stages of, director level jobs, VP level jobs, whatever, product, executive, et cetera, general manager. So hopefully, James, that's helpful. All right. So while you're looking, let me see if I noticed that Anastasia is recruiting a few more people to join her JSC mid-career in the UK and Europe. Contact her. Go for it. That's amazing. And it looks like Santosh is interested, so you guys should connect over LinkedIn. Keon notes, Keon, I'm guessing you're a recruiter and you're saying ask for advice. We're here to give it. That's amazing. I also, if you're willing to join our volunteer program where we have recruiters and we match you behind the scenes with a couple of job seekers a month to help them on candidate market fit, then go to phyl.org/volunteer to sign up. I would love that. Yeah, okay. Pete Lee. Pete, good to see you. Pete's a leader in the Never Search Alone world. Things like the Manukin 2-pager candidate market fit help recruiters help candidates. Yeah. We had a great LinkedIn Live recently where we had a candidate and a recruiter, an internal recruiter who had just hired that person. They came together and talked about that process. And what that recruiter said, and you'll enjoy this, Mark, is like, because their candidate market fit was so focused and narrow and their LinkedIn was optimized around that, the moment they saw their LinkedIn, they're like, oh, this person's a great fit. Bam, called them, set up interviews, made the offer, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? Now, if you haven't done the work to hone your candidate market fit, then when Mark comes along, he's gonna bypass you and go to the next person, possibly, right? Or certainly this recruiter was gonna do that. All right, did you find it, Doran?
I did. I will read it to you.
Okay.
I tried to keep it short and pithy.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. X, I would love to catch up with you when convenient. Can I steal a bit of your time? I'm doing an exercise of self-review, and I would love to get some input from you on how it was to work with me back in the day. Thanks so much, Doran.
Okay, so it's short and good. I like that. But you left something really important out, Doran, which is that you're looking for a job, right? Now, are you in a role already, or are you out of work looking? I forget.
I'm transitioning out. I'm kind of I'm at the end of a tenure, so I'm short. Yeah.
Is it okay for you to be honest that you're looking for a job in this?
Yeah, totally.
So I would say, listen, I'm in the job search. As you know, it's a tough market. I'm not asking for a job. I'd love 15 minutes of your time for some advice to help me understand some of my strengths and weaknesses, something like that. I think you're going to find if people, so when you get that note, I'm like, I don't feel compelled to answer because it does, it's like, oh, he's doing a review it sounds like, I don't know, self-discovery or something, and which it is, but it's not in the context of a job search. That's important. And people who are in jobs, they're feeling insecure today because they know that they could be in, there's lots of layoffs and who knows. And so they like the idea of being helpful. So Mark, what would you agree with my feedback to Doran on that note?
I would say 100%. First things first, be really clear, be really straightforward. I'm looking for a job. I need your help. So I'm asking you for your help. Yeah. And the clarity on that just focuses your mind.
Yeah. And you want to be clear, you're not asking them to give you a job. You're asking them, I want your help. And the way that I can get your help is to get some advice on how you see me and my strengths and weaknesses. To be clear, I'm not asking you for a job. I'm asking you for advice. We could do it in a 15-minute call. Would you be up for that? I think you're going to get a better response to that, Doran.
I think I think this is advice for everybody out there. I have this inner stigma where I'm feeling embarrassed. And therefore, my unconscious me is making this request in a way that's perhaps suboptimal. So I think we've just got to take these, just take off the shame or the embarrassment, and it's a process. I'm kind of it's early days for me, but I think we all just got to get a lot bolder.
Yes,
and that'll work.
Yeah, and there is no shame. Now, you're not alone in feeling that. Would people in the chat, if you're willing to be open, would you share if you feel some level of that stigma as well, so Doran knows he's not alone. While we wait for people to respond to that, Doran, I will say that in the United States, 2 years ago, in the fall of 22, there was some sense of stigma around the first layoffs, but that has gone away. There have been so many layoffs here that, like whole divisions. Everyone knows it's not a skill issue. It's not a quality of employee issue. It's just the boat that we're all in. But are you seeing this? Are you seeing this, Doran? Are you seeing all these responses?
I am heartwarming.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps you know that, again, you're just knowing you're not alone, okay, has a big impact. We're a social species. It matters. So there's so many comments. I want to get back to this, but I hope you guys found that helpful. That was a very tactical conversation, but there are some important lessons there, right? Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, can I ask a question on that? What is the difference, Doran, in your reach out to somebody you worked with to ask for that feedback versus a stranger to ask for a job? Is that part of, as you were talking about, your unconscious me, because you have a fear of what that person might say, so you're less bold in asking that question, or asking the question twice or three times, like you might do to a random stranger to get them to respond?
I think it's easier with a random stranger, 100%. And I think the reason for that, is obvious, because, this is somebody you've worked with closely in the past, and, you're reaching out in this kind of semi-desperation, or that's what your unconscious self is thinking. So I think that's what it's. So I think you're right. I think 100%. The strangers are easier.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And here's the thing, Doran, and this is for everyone. People are always nervous before they go out and do their listening tour. What do people think? I'm out of a job. And then they discover how much love and respect there is for them out there. Okay. Now, to be clear, I'm not asking you to go talk to somebody who's a jerk, who's, treated you badly. But there are people, one of the exercises in the book I call the gratitude house. I asked you to do this early on. Did you do that, Doran?
I did, but I didn't send anything off. I just documented a bunch of people that helped me.
Yeah, I'm glad. And did it help you realize how many people have been behind you in your life?
Absolutely.
What I ask people to do in the gratitude house is just sit down and think about everyone in their life, going back to third grade or whatever it is, primary school, who has helped you along the way. Not because they're going to be helpful to you today necessarily, some will, and it's helpful to have that. But it's more that to remind us that we truly have not done anything in our lives alone. And there's a lot of support and love for us out there. Okay. Let's see if we can tackle some more. I love seeing the comments in here. I'm glad to see some people saying they're not ashamed. Absolutely, you should not be ashamed, especially in this market. It is just a tough market. What are the best primes? I have so many resume. Okay, so Santosh, here's the thing. In the neighborhood of 80% of the jobs come through the hidden job market. You're not going to get the job through applying over LinkedIn. A few times you will, but it's going to be a recruiter. It's going to be a relationship that you have. This is why I'm asking you to build a web of support, right? So that the word gets out that Santosh is looking for a director of product role in a B2B software company in the healthcare space that's at Series C. By the way, that's the kind of specificity I'm talking about in candidate market fit. Incredibly focused, right? But I want you to have that web of network built. And by the way, people ask me, what's the duration of a job search and never search alone? This sounds like a lot of work. Is this going to add months or years? 3 months. What's the average job search in the United States? 3 months to 6 months. We're at the low end. because the upfront work you do speeds up the back end work. As we were talking about before, once you get to that candidate market fit, you've built a network, you have clarity, you synchronize your LinkedIn, you go out and do some networking. Mark Long comes along, finds Santosh exactly bullseye for the job he's looking for. Bing, bam, boom. Okay. This is some setup work. It's going slow to go fast. All right. What else?
I actually think, Phil, I think that point's really, really important.
Yeah.
By the time I see you, I need to see you in your best light.
Yes.
If I see you when you're all general,
Yes.
you just blur in between the trees. You're
Yeah.
one of the 1,000 people I'm scrolling, swipe left, swipe left. I need to see you in your glory. Right?
Right.
So you practice with your friends, you rehearse with your friends,
Yeah.
get it right, and then you hit the people that you want to work with.
Right. Now the one
Just one thing on that. I'm a bit of an A/B test because this last role is what you define that I was in is what you define a boomerang role, where I wasn't there for very long, and so I did the scatterbrain spray and pray approach last time around. This time around, I'm doing the focused approach, so I will have that A/B test experience.
Totally. And look, this is just even more important in a market like we're in today. So Manoj, how focused do I have to be? I have experience in strategy and engineering and customer enablement. So Manoj, I will tell you, and Mark will back me up on this. If I'm a recruiter or hiring manager looking at that, I don't know what to do. I move on to the next person. You need to decide, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? And where does the market see your strength, and where's the market opportunity, and then narrow. You don't catch a job with a net, you catch it with a spear. Okay. Now people say to me, well, what if I'm a generalist? Well, you can't be a generalist of anything. What kind of generalist are you talking about? So every kind of role, you can have a very focused approach. All right. How are you organizing JFC if people look for remote work? Seems like they're location centric. I'm not sure about that. We have JAC members all over the world, and it's remote work, on-site work. It doesn't have to do with location. I'm not sure how you got that impression, but glad to clear that up for you.
I will just add one thing on that, because my first JSC that didn't quite work, I had people across a lot of time zones, which made scheduling impossible, and it fizzled away. So my experience is that it's better to have, if you're in Europe, find other people in Europe. Otherwise, the getting together and even just the overlap of chat and instant messaging. Sure. I think the time zone.
To be clear, I'm sorry. I don't mean you should have a JC with someone in Singapore and someone in California and someone in Russia or whatever, right? That's going to be impossible to schedule. I'm saying that this approach works in all those different places. And if you want to do remote work or location work, that doesn't really change it. But you should be in a Europe-based JC for sure. What if you have a broad skill set? So this is how, Tanaz, this is where you got to go through that listening tour and iterate with people and others, and with recruiters, to figure out that Venn diagram, that intersection between what, where you have all these various skills, what do you really want to do, and what does the market want from you, and where's that intersection? And there's no shortcut to that. And I can't tell you that in 5 seconds, but I can lay out a methodology that will get you there and will involve recruiters giving you advice. The only thing I'd say about Mark, when you go to Mark as a recruiter to place you in a job, I want you to be buttoned up. When you go to Mark, who's a volunteer in the Never Search Alone community, giving you advice on your candidate market fit, you're not buttoned up at that point. You've done your homework, but he's helping you get there. That's him wearing a different hat. You're looking for a job in Dubai. How can I research the job market and its demands when a single vacancy receives over 1,000 applications? So, Andre, you're gonna have to build relationships in a network, because if you're trying to just spray and pray and get into a pool of 1,000 applications, you're not going to find a job. If you go out there, join a job search council, figure out your candidate market fit, and then build that networking skill, you're going to hear about jobs before they're posted. You're going to be involved. You're going to have relationships with recruiters. It's going to be a different search. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope you find that helpful. Thanks. I'm glad you like the book and sunglasses. Okay, cool. Biggest win for you personally has been the feeling that I'm actively doing something to help me find a job rather than waiting. My question is, have you ever considered building a technology product? Yes, I have considered, and we're going to. So right now, here's what's happening. I'm putting 150% of the book sales into running the program we have today, right? So every dollar I get from sale of the book plus a little bit from my pocket, right? As the community grows and the book sales grow, we have a bigger pool of money. I'm also now doing a speaking tour on AI. I have a lot to say about AI, and I have a book down the road about what I call AI and the 20-year curve. And I'm taking all of my speaking fees and donating that to building that first version of that platform. And so step by step. When I first published the book 2 years ago, I put up a Google sheet and said, people just put your name there and then, you can match each other. Very quickly, we were overwhelmed with demand. And so we built a technology solution behind the scenes for the matching and setup. But we have not, we don't have the basis yet to build the platform. So if you want to volunteer, be a part of the team, go to Phyl.org, and beyond what you're doing now, go to Phyl.org/volunteer. Or, by the way, we do ask job seekers at the end when they've gotten a job if they'd like to make a donation to building that platform. And most people will put in $30, $50, $100. A couple of people have done more than that. And over time, that will also help us develop this. But that's where we're headed. Question to Phyl and Mark. In this current market where I want to change domains. Okay, so you can change domains in any market, but you better do your candidate market fit and figure out what your prior expertise means for where you want to go and how you fit and how you might fit and how you enter that. And you will likely have to go down in level. Not always. It depends on how transferable your skills are. Mark, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I agree. Likely go down a level. Certainly move for the same salary, if not slightly less, because you're betting on your future. And I would say in your candidate market fit, you want to frame your learning capacity and your willingness to put the work in.
Yeah, that's so important. And I'll tell you a quick story. I had a product council member who was an EVP at a large legacy media company in New York. And this was about 10 years ago. And he realized that the future was not there and that he should join one of the streamers in Silicon Valley. And so he went through this process. And what he found is that the candidate market fit, he was senior executive, first class on the airplane, black cars all the time, corner office, hundreds of people reporting to him. The streamers in Silicon Valley did not prize that background, and what he had to decide, he had to go several levels down back to an IC. But he was on his job search council and he made the bet that this is where the future was. And Mark, can you believe it? He did that. And boy, has that paid off. OMG. He's made far more money, but he also has a much better career than if he had stayed in that legacy business that just kept going down and down. That's a very difficult decision to make, almost impossible to make alone. But to his credit, he did it. And but he couldn't have done it by himself.
Something that just occurred to me as you were sharing that story was the amount of times I would hear from a candidate and they're so keen to share their story, their journey of how they got from where they were originally to where they are now.
Yeah.
You waste all that time, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I can't get a word in edgeways.
That's
just tell me a bedtime story. I don't need to know this. I want to know where you're going.
Right.
Like the candidate market fit, where are you going? If I need to dig into how you got here,
right.
I'll ask you that question.
That's right.
But stop just phoning me up and saying, I want to tell you my life story.
People, look, when it comes time to write your memoir, go for it, right? But that's not what's happening when you're in the job search and talking to a recruiter. They have a few minutes. They've got to figure out if you're a possible fit for an opening, and if not, get off the phone. It's not personal. It's the way this business operates. Yeah, don't fall in love with your background. Tell them where you're going, what your candidate market fit is today. And if you want to change domains or you want to make a switch, you be prepared for a two-step strategy. Be prepared to take a step down to be able to take a step up later, right? Be prepared for what that new fit might look like in that environment. And definitely don't try to explain to everybody in a long format why you're a great fit. You've got to see what they think. What do they think you're a fit for? All right, good. What else do we have? What are the best brands to gauge? Try reaching. So again, Santosh, my sense, are you in a job search council, Santosh? I don't remember. Have you gone through the process of candidate market fit? Or are you talking about engaging recruiters to help you find the job once you're ready to go? Maybe you could address that and clarify it in the chat. But let me answer both questions before you bring in Gabriella. Let me answer both possibilities because I think this will help everybody else. Number one, when you're in a job, build a relationship with a recruiter, okay? Help them. That's a long-term investment. Any of you in a job today, please heed that. If you're out of work and you want to build a relationship with a recruiter, it's harder. It just is. And if you follow through the Never Search Alone process, you can tap into our recruiter network where you can have the candidate market fit conversation, okay? Once you've honed that and you have that clear and your LinkedIn represents it, then it will be easier for you to contact recruiters who are looking for jobs in your bullseye area, okay? But it's got to be in the bullseye. It can't be some general thing. And Santosh, I fear from the way you describe that you're just trying to reach out to various recruiters. Yeah, they're not going to respond to that. They don't have time. They don't know you, and there's no context, and it's likely not connected to a job that they're looking for at that point. Mark, do you have thoughts on that?
It's a tricky one. The advice that I would give you is to do your research on the recruiters that you want to connect with. You need to find 2 or 3 recruiters in your domain that can be your sponsors and your allies for a couple of year period. So if you're a designer, you find a specialist design recruiter. If you're an engineer, et cetera, and those are the people that you need to connect with. And those, Anna, I saw your comment, are the people that at some point you can tell your life story to, and we can all be friends and hang out together.
Yes, I want you to do that. Yeah.
You know, life is fun too, but you don't want to be a generalist candidate looking for a generalist job speaking to a random generalist recruiter. You're just not going to get anywhere. You need to be specific and intentional.
Yeah. I think that's so important. Why are you offering this for free? So there's several reasons. One, my mom started the first council in 1960, and she ran it for 50 years. And she taught me the art of asking for help. And I dedicate the book to her, and I dedicate the community to her. And that's part of what motivates me. But also, I'm motivated by the fact that at the heart of capitalism is something called creative destruction. That's economic jargon, by the way, creative destruction. It just refers to that it's an ever dynamic system with new products and services and companies replacing old ones, right? That's why living standards have grown in the West over the last 100 years. It gives us a lot. And in fact, it's given us the entire tech economy. But with creative destruction comes, and I'm going to use another economic piece of jargon, negative externalities, unintended bad consequences, in other words, layoffs, people out of work. Now, we have a safety net that's government sponsored at various levels in different countries. We're never going to be able to do that, but the government is never going to innovate how to look for a job. That's our job. And I want to contribute this. I have benefited. I got into the internet early on. I'm not a billionaire, but I've done well enough that I'm in a position today where I can give back. And I think we those of us who have benefited from the internet, those of us who were early on, I think we have an obligation to the many people who have been let go, who are floundering today. It is not cool that we're not doing something to support them. So I'm very passionate about that. And so I'm building this. The third thing I'll say is the core of this philosophy is you have to take charge. The way I describe it is there may not be an I in team, but there is an I in village. You have to be the I in village. You have to be independent and accountable and responsible, but not alone. You need to do that with a village of support around yourself. So if I set up a paid program, you're a customer and you want us to take care of you. No, this is a free program. You're in charge. We're going to provide a context and tools and support, but you drive it. That is better in the long run for your job search, I believe. Hopefully that was helpful. Maybe more than you bargained for. Okay, what are my views on approaching PE and VC funds? Are there different tactics you'd suggest? So again, one of the things I want you to do is go out and do a listening tour and figure out your candidate market fit. I would include anyone you know at PE and VC funds if you're thinking that's the direction you may want to go. You want to start to have the dialogue. You want to ask them for help, get them invested. And then, yes, once you have clarity about candidate market fit, absolutely, they have their own talent people that you can try and approach with the clearest candidate market fit. I had a member who was a VP of product at a large Silicon Valley firm. He was a longtime product council member. We run these, we have a paid program for senior leaders in product and general management. And he came to me and he said, I know you want me to do this candidate market fit thing, but I don't think I need to do that. I'm going to just go out and talk to some VC funds. I've got a good network. The very first person, a partner at a prominent VC fund, said, I don't know what to do with you. What are you a fit for? And he came right back to me and said, oh shit, I have to figure out my candidate market fit. I said, yeah, I mean, I didn't make this up. This is from iterating with thousands of people over 25 years. Okay, if you struggle to find a role at your level, should you consider downstepping? And if so, should you downplay your past experience? Gordon, this is exactly what I want you to figure out in the listening tour as you talk to people and get their feedback on your fit in the market conditions today. And as you talk for advice to recruiters like Mark to understand how they think you're a fit. And then once you have that, then you can figure out how to talk about it. Okay. But this is important work you need to do before we can answer that question. Have you seen ageism? Absolutely. Without question. Ageism is a thing. It's a thing. It's especially a thing in tech. It's everywhere, but it's certainly strong in tech, right? So I tell the story in the book about a woman, longtime, marketer for startups. She got into her early 60s and she was no longer getting offers. What was that? It was ageism. Probably some sexism thrown in there too, by the way. So what did we if I had a magic wand, I would get rid of this stuff. I sadly don't have that wand. So we talked a lot about candidate market fit, and she went out and did some more research, and she figured out that small and medium-sized family-owned businesses really were desperate for her kind of expertise and did not show the same kinds of sexism and ageism that she found in Silicon Valley startups. And that's exactly the job she got. She's still in it today. She's going to take it to retirement and loves it, right? So is it a thing? Absolutely. Can you work with it? Yeah, and again, you need that job search council. And one of the fun things we like doing with job search councils is having the older people learn from the younger people and the younger people learn from the older people, right? In this broader community. There's a lot we can learn from each other.
I think we have 1 minute left. So here's the final question, which is from Ibadat.
Yeah. Outside of the traditional routes of looking at job boards and so on and so forth. Okay, so Ibadat, this is the entire session today has been answering your question, right? This is breaking the traditional route of what we call spray and pray. Remember, 80% of the jobs don't come through those job boards and blah, 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 and cold. You got to build a network and a village of support around yourself. You got to figure out candidate market fit, got to get support and advice, and then go out there and build relationships. Alexa, off. Sorry about that. That was the alarm in the background telling us time is up. Doran, I really appreciate you having me here. Mark, the same. If any of you want help, come over to phyl.org. We have a volunteer team with smart and real hearts ready to help. We have helped 30,000 people. We want to help millions more. Spread the word about this. We really want to create a solution to this negative externality, to this downside of capitalism, where people are getting thrown out of jobs because of creative destruction, and there's nothing for them, in terms of a good methodology that will support them to find a good job that will get them both, the money they need and frankly, the satisfaction and the happiness they deserve. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for doing this, Phil. And this will be recorded for posterity. I'm sure it'll be watched by many, many. So thank you so much.
Woohoo!
Thanks everybody for coming.
Good luck out there. Thank you, Mark.
Me too.
So then, Doran, you just hit record off or whatever in the StreamYard interface if you see that.
Yep, it's off.
Okay.